Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Overtime. Jack Smith is a consummate prosecutor, one of the best I've ever seen. He's dogged and completely unbiased and really just cares about the law. He wanted to give his deposition publicly because he believed so strongly that he really had Trump dead to rights and that it was important on both the election interference and the classified documents case that the public know what he had. Now, instead, he was forced to testify behind closed doors, but those sessions are being released bit by bit, and in fact, on Friday they released a segment of it. One of the interesting ones was he said that he believed he had Donald Trump beyond a reasonable doubt to conspiracy to overthrow the 2000 election. Now, one of the senators thought they had him at that point. They're like, well, aren't you supposed to be impartial? You don't really decide whether he's guilty or not. That's decided by a judge, or sorry, by a jury, because I didn't say I thought he was guilty. I thought that there was beyond a reasonable doubt that he had done it, but it's for the jury to decide if he's guilty or not. But if I don't believe that he can be convicted, then I'm not allowed to bring the charges in the first place. So it was some exceptional testimony and some very damning testimony. So if you're Donald Trump and you'd like to get people's attention off of something like that, what do you do? Welcome to this morning. The United States attacked Venezuela today. A couple of hours ago, there were reports of low-flying aircraft. Everything that we're aware of at this point was helicopters. We will play for you right now some of the footage that we have. Let's see. Here you go.
Y esa mierda explotaron la cabeza mierda porque el planeta está explotando.
Mierda, marico, se prendió el peo en esta mierda, yo. Marico, llegamos a tiempo a la casa, yo.
Oh, you guys don't see the video? Are you guys seeing the video or not? Did you guys see the video or just hear the audio? I'll wait for an answer on that question. In the meantime, it's worth noting that there's a lot of explosions. There's a lot of airplanes. We are not at war with that country. War has not been authorized by Congress with that country. The president can go to war with any country he wants to for 30 days, but then he needs congressional approval after that. And the reality is that we're aware of, he hasn't run this past the Gang of Eight. And he hasn't declared, nobody's declared a state of war. So the buildings that were attacked, also interestingly, it turns out at least half of them appear to have been government buildings. So they were administrative buildings, buildings for the running of the day-to-day of the country, not military buildings. There were military buildings that were hit, but it certainly doesn't seem like they were a priority. It seems like they hit the minimum they needed to slow any retaliation, and the rest were government buildings. The government headquarters, the house of Maduro, we don't know if any of these were hit, but if they wanted to kill Maduro and had any idea where he was, they could have at that time. Instead, according to Donald Trump, This is what Trump then posted on Truth Social. The United States has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details will follow. There will be a news conference at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Holy shit! Doesn't even begin to describe. That's called kidnapping. We are not at war with that country. We went in and kidnapped their leader. It has been confirmed that members of Delta were sent in and essentially a negotiated extraction. It appears as if there was some kind of standoff. Both Maduro and his wife could have been killed. Instead, they offered to surrender, and they were extracted and taken out of the country. Apparently, they will face charges for crimes in the United States. I would like to point out that, to the best of my knowledge, unless it's been in a secret court, they haven't been indicted for any crimes in the United States. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to extradite them, probably find them guilty, and then indict them for the crime. In fact, actually, the fact that they're guilty is the grounds for the extraction in the first place. So we extracted them because they're guilty of crimes for which we have not yet bothered to indict them. Even if we had indicted them on these crimes, it's foreign soil. We have no jurisdiction over there. We can't just walk in and take people. We also don't know how many dead civilians there are at this point. Venezuela is reeling from the attack. There are dead. We don't know whether they're civilian or military. We don't know anything except that, Marco Rubio is getting out ahead of this now that this is starting to happen. Let's see. Just got off the phone with Secretary Rubio. He informs me that Nicolas Maduro has been arrested by U.S. personnel to stand trial on criminal charges in the U.S. So, okay. So he's going to be arrested, and then we're going to pick the charges. That's what, because he hasn't been charged with anything yet. So we'll arrest him first and then pick the charges. Okay, that's great. That's how our justice system works now. And that this kinetic actions we saw tonight was to deploy to and defend those executing the arrest warrant. I haven't heard of an arrest warrant. I haven't heard of a judge issuing an arrest warrant. And again, I haven't heard of charges. I have heard that the president has declared him a narco-terrorist. But that's an artificial declaration that the president just made up. It has no rule of law behind it. It's not recognized by any country, including the United States, and Congress doesn't recognize it. So just because he says it doesn't make it so. This action likely, that's a word you want to hear when we're kidnapping. Okay. Likely falls within the president's inherent authority under Article 2 of the Constitution to protect U.S. personnel from actual or imminent attack. There is no set of circumstances where that could possibly be true, and here's why. A, we were not under attack by Venezuela. B, even if you use the trumped-up charge that the narco-terrorism was an attack, 90% of that was going to other countries, and most of the narcotics that we get, especially the dangerous ones, we get from Mexico. So that's a lie. C, getting rid of Maduro does nothing to change that because Maduro isn't the one who's trafficking the drugs. And D, the purported reason for this was to get an arrest warrant. The whole idea behind Article 2 to protect U.S. personnel from actual or imminent attack, you don't need an arrest warrant. That's so the second he says is he executing his powers as the chief executive, or is he executing his powers to protect the American citizens? Pick one. He just used two defenses. Neither of them work. For crying the fuck out loud. And I have no idea how other countries are going to react to this. I would imagine a combination. Yeah, Epstein files. This is basically because Epstein files are going to, on the 4th, Congress comes back and they have a lot of questions for Pam Bondi, which brings me to one thing I want to point out. I was going to take a couple of days to get all of these files ready for everybody. I didn't realize that we were going to just attack. Now, the last time we did anything even close to this was in, I want to say, 79. Let me just, I'm trying to get one of the redacted files. No, sorry, it was 89. We captured Manuel Noriega of Panama. But we declared war on Panama. There was a war with Panama. We completely overran the country, and he was hiding out in a bunker, and we effectuated his surrender and then took him into custody. There was an actual war. This was, there's no war been declared. We had an embargo, and then we just sent in Delta, kidnapped the president, and pulled him out. By the way, the vice president has demanded proof of life. She wants to make sure that the president is in fact alive. She does not trust Donald Trump to say that he's alive. He's like, oh, we've got him. I want proof of life. So the fact that now another country is demanding proof of life of the United States, I think pretty much puts us squarely in the bad guy territory, when we're the ones providing proof of life, not asking for it. It looks like what they're going to do is they're going to invent some charges, because apparently he hasn't been charged with anything yet. So, I guess they figure you got to capture the guy first to figure out what you're going to charge him with. Whatever they're going to charge him with, they're going to make sure that it's going to be something that they're going to find him guilty of. And then he's going to spend the rest of his days in a American jail until President Trump decides to just pardon him, because he wants to pardon narco-terrorists, which he apparently does at random intervals as well. There was a particularly damning page on the Epstein files. I think we did show this earlier. It's a little difficult. It's within the YouTube guidelines, but barely. It was a description of a sexual encounter between somebody whose name had been redacted and a young girl. And we have 2 copies of it, and we had shown them back to back. If this is it, that's not it. The redacted version was released by the DOJ in its most recent data release. The unredacted version was released by a judge actually more than a year ago, and has been in the custody of the Oversight Committee, unbeknownst to the DOJ. And this is something we had talked about, which is the DOJ runs the risk with every redaction of hitting a document that the Oversight Committee already has a copy of, and they did. All of the redactions weren't of victims. They were of Donald J. Trump. It was an accusation of him molesting a underage girl. His name was completely redacted, where it appeared like 6 or 7 times in the document, and it was the testimony of an underage girl of what he had done. And the committee had the original document. They didn't release it because they didn't want the DOJ to know they had it. And the DOJ, oh, we're just releasing victims redacted. Nope. We have absolute concrete proof now that the DOJ has redacted Trump's name from a damning file in violation of the law. So they're talking about any number of consequences. I think impeachment is at this point likely against Pam Bondi, because she's not only failed to redact victims, but she has clearly redacted Donald Trump in instances where he was implicated. So now is as good a time as any, I suppose, to take out Venezuela. What's going to happen to Venezuela? Nobody knows. There are a couple of leading theories. One is that the vice president is going to take over. I don't know anything about the vice president. I don't know how credible that is as a long-term theory. Excuse me. The second one is that the government in exile, which purportedly won the last election and has been fighting to restore their president back, and she was in fact the winner of the real Peace Prize, not the FIFA Peace Prize. She didn't win the football Peace Prize. She won the actual Nobel Peace Prize. Restore her to government. That sounds like the most reasonable thing to do in my view. The problem is half the country is corrupt and wants to keep it corrupt. She wants to straighten it out. She's not going to get any support from the people under her, and Maduro's VP will get that support. So what I see happening at this point is a full-blown civil war at the cost of a great many human lives. That's what I think is most likely. Because we just pulled the president out and had no plan for what's going to happen to the country. Because, I mean, America first. They're not America, so what do we care what happens when we just yank out their leadership? But they don't have a tenable structure in case he's gone. They don't. You could say that's their fault. It kind of is, but whether it is or isn't, that's the situation they're in, and we just illegally kidnapped the president of another country. And again, if at least if he had been charged with something, you could pretend it was legal. They didn't even bother charging him and they're sitting there going like, yeah, he's going to come back here and they didn't, they say, what was it they said? Oh, they said that they got him on an arrest warrant. It's the first time I've ever seen a Delta deployed for an arrest warrant in another country where they don't have, oh my God. It's so when the title of this is All Hell Breaks Loose in Venezuela, that is literally where we are at. The vice president of Venezuela is demanding proof of life of the president from the United States, who claims to have both the president and his wife in their custody. Trump will speak from not the White House, which would at least indicate the somberness of the moment. He's going to speak from Mar-a-Lago, a beach club. Wow. And explain just how awesome America is for having done all this, I guess, and explain what's going on. But in the meantime, the vice president is presumably, at least temporarily, elevated to the president. But my understanding, and I never dove into her too deeply, but my understanding was she had no real interest in being president, was basically there as a yes man for Maduro. So now that he's gone, she doesn't necessarily know how to run the country, but she knows she doesn't want the alternative government in. So it's anybody's guess what happens, and there's going to be no leadership from the U.S. on this. It's just, oh, we took your president, you're on your own, good luck, talk to you later. So 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the President of the United States will speak on it. We probably won't carry it live. We will carry commentary. We're going to have probably the entire team as Andrew and Commander and myself on this one, because this is just insane. In the meantime, we don't know how many are dead. We do know government buildings were hit. I assume whatever the presidential palace is, or wherever the president works, was likely hit, but probably his home was not. They didn't want him dead. They wanted him alive so they could persecute him. Prosecute. I actually meant prosecute, but persecute is and that's the other thing. They want him alive because as long as he's alive, they can keep this the story instead of the Epstein files, which just that gets worse between the Epstein files and Jack Smith, I'm thinking the only conclusion I've been able to reach is that Trump has decided that maybe there is a point of maximal carnage where if he just keeps screwing things up so badly, it just like all implodes, just implodes, inverts, and he comes out crystal clean. And it's like the Epstein stuff doesn't matter and nothing matters anymore, and he just walks away like the greatest president of all time. I don't believe any such thing exists, but maybe he does. I don't know. Because he just like, every time he gets into trouble, he's like, well, if I get into even more trouble, nobody's going to pay any attention to the last trouble I got into. Yeah, that'll work for a spell, I suppose. Oh, dear. All right. So, earlier I did not have access, unfortunately, to live stream, and I still do not. Having some issues with my internet, I do apologize. So that's it. Right now, Venezuela is reeling from what Trump, I think, called a massive attack. It was a significant one. We hit 3 different counties. They extracted President Maduro and his wife. They are believed now to be in U.S. custody to stand trial for crimes as of yet invented. I'm sure we'll find some, but right now they haven't been charged, and nobody's published a warrant. But again, even if they did, we don't have jurisdiction. I have a feeling this move is going to be condemned worldwide. Maduro was not a nice guy. Maduro was a dictator. He needed to be removed. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And the reality is we didn't remove him because we did. It's the same thing with Saddam. People kept saying about going into Saddam, we need to remove Saddam Hussein because he gassed 10,000 of his own people. Yes, he did. But first of all, if you want to know where he got the sarin gas that he used, he got it from the United States. Second of all, we could remove a man who's so evil that he gassed 10,000 of his own people 10 years ago. Or we could go into Rwanda and stop a genocide where 10,000 people are dying every month right now. And we could save their lives. No. We got to get Hussein because he's the evil one because he killed 10,000 of his own people 10 years ago. Yeah. It's amazing what Trump is able to sell to people. Anyways, I think I am all caught up. Like I said, we'll probably do a rundown later on tonight, and see a lot of countries are going to have a lot to say about this. This is going to displease everybody, I imagine. Who's to say we can't kidnap Canada's prime minister next? I mean, if Trump can literally just declare anybody, and it falls under Article 2, are you joking? The rule of law does not exist in this country anymore. This is not. There was an argument on our Discord. Is this legal or is it illegal? It's neither. Because in order for something to be legal or illegal, law has to exist. It doesn't exist anymore. It's just whatever Trump wants to do. It's that simple. Oh, dear Lord. All right, so we'll see. I think the biggies right now, I'm not as concerned with proof of life. I'm pretty sure we have them. I'm pretty sure they're at least okay for now. The big questions are going to be, what is Venezuela going to do? Is there going to be a civil war? Are they going to find a way to... And we're still chasing... we were going to do a rundown on, so it turns out that Venezuelan boat that we haven't boarded, one of the reasons we haven't boarded it may be because we suspected it was Russian. Turns out it is Russian. They painted a Russian flag on it, which is fine. That's what I'd paint on it if I was on there, because it would slow the U.S. down from thinking about trying to board it. But it turns out it does appear on a Russian manifest as being a Russian boat. Russia also officially asked the United States to stop tailing the vessel. So it's probably Russian. It's probably part of their shadow fleet. Trump is rather pissed at Putin, but Putin has something on Trump, and Trump doesn't like to... He always gets a little squirrely around pulling the trigger on anything with Putin. The last anybody heard, he was thinking of boarding the ship and taking control of it, which sounds like a pretty Trumpian move. But if there's any Russian soldiers on that ship, that could be a serious problem. Now, legally, we're actually probably on okay ground. I'd need his Zandering to know for certain. But because the ship was flying without colors for so long and only raised them at the last minute before being attacked and said, oh, we're Russian, we're Russian, we're Russian, it's probably too late. It's sort of like, yeah, we don't know that for certain, and we believe you have illicit cargo, and they're sanctioned anyway. So they've been a sanctioned ship for however many years, so we board them. But if there's a firefight, that could be a serious problem. So I was thinking that was going to be today's story. And it may yet, so don't worry. We may still have plenty of wonderful news for you coming up in the future. Please do like and subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell and set your notifications to all so that when we do notify you of things at 4 a.m. in the morning, you get the notification and can get caught up. But that's what we know, and it's very little that we know. We're going to be waiting to find out, how Venezuela is going to handle this over the next couple of days. We'll figure out which factions are going to vie for control and whether or not it can remain a stable country or not. There may also be drug kingpins who are just going to say, oh, this is now the time. Just kill the vice president, and now I'm in charge. This is regime change, by the way. This is exactly what Trump said he was never going to do. Complete, utter regime change. Just pulled the president right out. Next question is, what are other countries going to do? I don't think they're going to be pleased. I don't think there are going to be very many countries pleased with us at all for this. China's going to condemn us. Even China's going to condemn us because China's been investing heavily in Venezuela. That's one of the reasons we did this. And then the question is going to be, what is Congress going to do? Because this is clearly illegal. This is clearly illegal. Does Congress care anymore? Even if they do they? How big a plate do they have? Because they're still dealing with Epstein and the release of the Jack Smith. The Jack Smith hearings. So we're going to see. But I think this is going to be an interesting day ahead. We're going to stay on it. 11 a.m. is when Trump is due to speak, and we probably will not be carrying that live. There are going to be a lot of sources, but we may have highlights later on tonight. Thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of your day.